What is happening, everybody? Chris Martinez here. I am the host of Operation Agency Freedom. I love when I get to have my friends on the show, but I especially love when I get to have my team members on the show. So today we have my friend. I've known him for over a decade. He's one of my closest friends that I have. He was the officiant in my wedding. His name is Omari Broussard. You might have heard of him or seen him around. And he's been working with me for around 6 or 7 months. He's our growth mentor. And so we're going to be talking and mainly sharing about like the things that he's learned uh, since working with us, because he's been in the agency slash digital marketing space for a very long time. Actually, when we first met, he was starting to do copywriting. So he's been in this arena or this industry for quite some time, but really just on like the sales and marketing side. And so as a growth mentor, he's been getting to see back behind the curtain of marketing agencies in a very different light. And so he sees the good, bad, and the ugly. You get to see all the numbers, all the challenges they're having with fulfillment and operations and systems and people and all that good stuff. And so that's one of the things that he helps our clients with, is make sure that they're getting this stuff fixed. So I'm very excited to have him on the show. So let's head over to the interview and you'll hear all of his revelations that he has had and what he's learned. And he's going to shed some light on some things that you might not know. So awesome. Let's head over there. Thank you. All right, it's time to get down to business. I've got my man here, Omari Broussard, very close friend. He was the officiant in my wedding. He was also on the podcast a while back. So we'll touch on that just a little bit. But I've known Omari for, gosh, like at least 10 years now.
Yeah, it's been
And
over a decade.
it's great to be working with him again. So I'm excited to dive into what he's been learning over the past few months that we've been working together. But let's start off, because some people don't know who you are. So I'll do my version of your bio, and then you can fill in the blank. So Omari went into the United States Navy. He actually got in early. He enlisted when he was 17 years old. I believe your mom signed it so that you could join.
Mm-hmm.
Always had the dream of joining the Navy and becoming a Navy SEAL. Fortunately, some injuries prevented that from ever being a possibility. Went through oh my God. It's Hell Week, but you guys call it Buds. And went through Buds. I think you went in 3 times and then you were injured all 3 times and you couldn't pursue
Twice.
it
It was two
twice.
classes, and I
Mhm.
got injured on my second class and got rolled out. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then you worked in comms. I think you were
Mm-hmm.
supporting SEAL Team 3 for a little while
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately did that. And you retired after 21 years
Mm-hmm.
in the United States Navy. You were
Yep.
a chief, E7.
Yep.
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 Awesome. And a little bit prior to that, you started getting involved in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And we met, I think, through Dan Kennedy, GKC, Henry's group. I think is
Mm-hmm.
kind of how it all came together. Actually, I remember the day that we met. It was at Christine's unveiling. She had a grand opening for her salon or something. And you were
Mm-hmm.
there and I was there. And so we started hanging out. And then you also had a CrossFit gym too that
Mm-hmm.
was right next door to Christine's too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I remember that. Then, let's see. After that, we did some stuff in Mexico, trying to
Mm-hmm.
launch the business down in Mexico for a little while, and with our former partner Sandro.
Mm-hmm.
We will not talk about him. Um, and then there was I'm trying to remember. Then did you start your own agency for a little while with that? After that,
I
like with
did.
Andrew?
Yeah, we had a PR agency for a little bit.
Yep. And actually, Oyuki worked with you for a little while.
Yep.
My
Oh, you
wife.
did
Yeah.
work. Yep.
Um, then I think then you started working with Fortune Builders, kind of helping with them for a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it was Measurement as
Yep.
their CMO, I
Mm-hmm.
think. I don't know what your
Yep.
official title was.
Director of marketing now.
Director of
Yeah.
Marketing.
Yeah.
And then over to us.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, what did I forget? You got to fill in the blanks then.
Okay, so the PR agency was after working with Fortune Builders.
Okay.
That was pretty much it. I mean, I did everything that you said over the last decade or so, plus the
You
28.
know what I did leave out the MBA. So you got your
Oh,
MBA at some
I
point
got
in
two
there.
masters actually.
2 masters. Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Right.
did. back to back.
And then the biggest one is that you are the oldest living blue belt in jiu-jitsu on the planet.
I think I still am.
And we got the chance to roll when you were out here last time. I took Omari to my gym at Atos, and dude, that was a crazy day because they had us
Yeah, that
do
was
the
so awesome.
King of the Hill
Yeah,
for like 30 or 45 minutes. The
that's awesome.
crazy. Yeah,
Awesome.
I got smashed that day. Although I did pass a blue belt. I can't remember what the position was, but this dude was like dead tired. And then I saw him give a speech because he got another black belt stripe um, in December, and
Hmm.
he's like, "I've been injured the entire time that I've been a black belt, like two years injured the whole time." I was like this guy would kill me. I just got lucky. And anyways, yeah, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks, man.
So what I wanted to talk about, because you joined us in, was it November?
October,
October.
my
Okay.
first month. Yeah,
So we're coming up, is it 6 months?
6 months.
6 months? Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, time flies. So we're I think we're actually officially a little bit over 6 months, or
Hmm.
we're right at that mark. And obviously, like, you know a lot. Like, for those that don't know Omari is the guy that knows everybody. So, like Molly Pittman, you know her well. You know
I
Ryan
do.
Dice. You
Love
know, like
Molly.
everybody at Digital Marketer, because you used to go there all the time too, because you live
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Austin. So
yeah,
he
yeah.
knows everybody at Digital Marketer. If you see this guy at Traffic and Conversion, he knows everybody. Like, I remember one day I was talking about, like, oh, there's Lloyd Irvin. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I know
Oh,
that guy. I know Lloyd.
it's my first mentor, man.
Yeah.
It's my guy. Shout
Lloyd's
out to
like big
Lloyd.
in the MMA and jiu-jitsu space.
It's my guy.
Now, anyways, Omari knows everybody, and what's cool is that he has done a lot of different things, right? Obviously, he was in the Navy, but he was also an agency owner. He worked as a director of marketing for a company. So he's done a lot of different things. He's seen a lot of things. Obviously, I just mentioned he has his MBA. So this is somebody who's kind of seen and done it all. But what we're going to talk about today is kind of like what he's learned while he's
Mhm.
been working with us, and specifically with the agencies, and kind of like what he's seen, and like some of the mistakes that he sees, like the common agency mistakes, I should say, that he's
Mhm.
seen. So why don't we start by you just tell us, maybe we'll rattle off, a handful of these. Like, what are some of the things that you didn't know or didn't expect coming into this job that you
Mhm.
learned about marketing agencies?
Um, I think to I think I had a leg up in that as far as seeing. I think what happens, and especially in the marketing world, you see, and this is how I came up. You see all the guys on stage and the gals on stage with the big agencies that done seven figures and all the other stuff, and that's what kind of allures you into this world, right? Um, my last when I was with Measurement is when I started to get a peek behind the curtain from a
Mm-hmm.
marketing perspective, right? When I came over to Dude, now I get to see behind the curtain from a business perspective, right?
Yeah.
Get to see what really goes on behind. And I've learned that what, and this is for everybody, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's an educational point to where what you see on the Instagrams and the Facebooks and the websites is not what you see behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
On one end, there's still, agency owners and their teams are normal, regular people just like us. They go through the same frustrations that everybody's coming up and they're excited to want to meet them and stuff. And, they go through those same things. So that's kind of the overall. Now, with that, when we start breaking this down, and Chris, I think we've talked about this for years, is the marketing is a creative sport on the entry,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I say marketing because we deal with marketing agencies. So a lot of agency owners come in because they had the skill of marketing. They could do ads, they could build websites, they can, they might have sold websites. They had something that was creative in the beginning and then they grew it, which is awesome. But then they hit a point to where adding more sales isn't necessarily helping at that point in time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I've learned is just because you're growing, there is going to be a point that where you gotta focus on the backstage stuff in order to continue that growth. Because if you don't have the backstage stuff in place, then it's going to come to a screeching halt, or it's going to implode.
Absolutely. And what we should have done actually before I even had you answer this question, I should have explained what it is that you're doing. So Omari is our growth mentor. That's like his official title. Um, what would your unofficial title be? I think it's like chief wrangler of very disorganized agency owner people, or also the guy who drags your ass across the finish line and makes sure that you get shit done. But how would you describe your job? Because you're kind of a jack of all trades and you like
Yeah.
oversee everybody.
I was thinking about this today as I'm going through and helping out clients. I'd like to say I'm part um I'd like to take different optics on the business. So when I look at the agencies, I'm looking at it from a couple ways. One, the the guy that's been around, seen some things they may not have seen, that can kind of coach them through the way, right? Another is I like to put on my investor eyes, right? How would an investor look at this business? If they were, you look at one of the investors on Shark Tank buys the business, what do they look at, and
Hmm.
how would they coach that business? So I look at it from that end, having been involved in businesses behind the scenes. And then the other one is the, hey, let's get it together and get moving. Right. Sometimes there's a motivational point, like, hey, the world's not ending.
Yeah.
We can make this happen. We just got to get it together. Um, fortunately, all of our clients are pretty good. So I
Yeah.
haven't had to, get in with the chiefliness yet. But with the couple, it's like it's not them necessarily, it's helping them lead their team and giving them coaching points on how to lead within their agency.
Right.
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 Not that they don't have the ability to, but what I find different with agencies is how the team development is done.
In what way?
You, you I think it's more like it's chaotic by nature because they hire people that can get the job done. And like I said, as you grow, you're going to require more from that backstage. So the everybody has to, as the business, as the agency grows, then the people have to grow as well, whether it's
Hmm.
skill set, discipline, whatever. You did a short on Instagram a while back, and it's been sticking with me,
Wow.
is
I
where
do.
you said an agency, when you hire a team in an agency, is less of a family and more of a sports team.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that is the case, right? So, sometimes, as I'm coaching our clients, it's like from the standpoints of how would the like outside looking in, how would a senior head coach like coach a brand new head coach, right? Let's look at the players. Let's look at the stats. Let's look at the numbers. It is a lot of that, now more so than, oh, let's go get some more sales. Yes. And, uh, let's pay attention to some of these other things as well.
Well, you know what? I expand on that. That clip must have come from a podcast interview or something. So one of the things that I've learned, because I've had some friends that have played professional sports before,
Mm-hmm.
and what's really interesting is if you look at their contracts. So inside of their contracts, most of the time it says the number of tackles they need to make, or
Mm-hmm.
touchdowns, or points per game, or three, and it
Mm-hmm.
gets very, very detailed. Now, that's really important because what the coaches and the leadership of the organization have to do is they have to figure out what's the formula that's going to
Mm-hmm.
get us to the playoffs, or that will help us win the championships. Kind of like
Mm-hmm.
Moneyball, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we need you to get on base.
Yeah.
And so they'll put inside of these people's contracts that if you hit, if you score 8 touchdowns, right? Let's just use
Mm-hmm.
that as an example. Actually, I'm going to use Gronkowski, right? So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
they when Gronkowski was playing, I don't know if he's still playing, but when he was with the Patriots, they would give him a number and say like, you need to catch this many passes, you need to score this many touchdowns,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see like towards the end of the season, the quarterback will purposely throw the ball to a certain player so that he can get his
Get his
bonus.
number. Yep.
Yeah, so if it's
Yeah.
like if you score eight touchdowns, we're going to give you $1 million bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I want you to think about is behind the scenes, what has to take place
Yeah.
for them to come up with that number and that bonus?
Yeah.
Because it's not like they're just making that shit up,
No.
right? They're like, okay, so we know that if Gronk scores this many touchdowns, then that's going to help us, put this many points on the board. And statistically speaking, we're going to win this many games. And if we win this many games, then it's going to get us to the playoffs. And if we get this many points, it's going to get us to the second round or the third round or maybe the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can add up all the revenue that's being generated from every single point. Like basically, they're calculating for every blade of grass that we move the ball past,
Yeah.
we're making this much money,
Yeah.
right? And then for the players, they make it so stupidly simple. It's like, I do this, I make money. I do this, I do not have a spot on the team next season. And that's what we need to be able to do as owners.
Yes.
Like we have great people, but once you reach that, like 500,000, 750,000, a million, 3 million, 5 million a year in revenue, those people, for us to get the most out of those people, we have to be able to explain to them exactly what we need them to do for us to win.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was talking about in that interview or whatever, wherever you saw
I've
that
been
clip.
running with that all like for at least 2 weeks. And here's why. If we look at, you asked me earlier, what are the mistakes? And I kind of broke it down into the big areas I see where a lot of mistakes are, right? And I kind of took what I was thinking and matched it. I did a whole research thing on football, all the positions, the strategy, what does offense do, defense, special teams. So first, I think one of the areas where the owner messes up is clarity.
Yes.
Now there's two types of clarity that I see are there, but both are missing. One is market clarity. Okay, market clarity is why do we exist? Who exactly do we serve? And what problems do we actually solve? And what offers do we have in place to solve those problems for those people? That's number one. One of the biggest mistakes. We can start there. Now, a lot of times, I got this from Ryan Dice. Shout out to Ryan. He called them accidental entrepreneurs. You do something, you're good at it, it works, and then next thing you know, you got a 6-figure business, and you're like, oh, this is a thing, right?
That's like everybody in the agency.
That's everybody.
Right? I don't think anybody graduated from college is like, I'm gonna start a digital marketing agency.
I did not leave the military after 22 years, having done 4 combat deployments, going, you know what? I'm gonna be a marketer. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
The other clarity is operational clarity. Now, this I kind of came up with. I don't know if anybody's said, but operational clarity, I have to give Mercer some
credit,
kudos for this one. Who does what by when?
Yes.
That's operational clarity. Who does what? You can sum up your entire operations as far as who does what by when. And you can add in how, because how is the playbooks, but I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So number one thing is clarity. I find now let's bring this real world. There's a couple of clients that we're working with that are having great success. And what I realize when I'm talking to them or their team, they're very clear on the market that they're in. Their market clarity is good and their operational clarity is improving, if not already good. Right? I can break that down to those two things. The next thing is the interaction between the owner and the leadership team, right? I'm a Cowboys fan, and I hate the fact that we have that same problem at the Cowboys. There's a difference between the communication between the owner and the leadership team. And the leadership team, I like to break down is like your offensive coordinator would be your head of sales and marketing. Your defensive coordinator would be your director of operations. And then you have your special teams, which would be CX, HR, and finance, right? The two big ones. We had a call yesterday with a client, like two biggest things, marketing, sales, and operations. If operations being the more heavier focus because defense wins championships, completely agree. If you cannot deliver a product on time, on target, with the right quality, you will lose clients and there's no point in selling.
Yes.
So with the leadership team, it's the communication is the owner, right, may be in a space where they feel like they need to do everything. Could be because of a lack of trust, which is normally why one of our first phases we recommend is leadership. Not because you need to learn how to lead, but you need to learn how your leadership style can possibly affect the rest of the team, right? The other one is leadership team members and how do they communicate with the owner, right? And how do they help the owner see behind corners? I would like to think that, you and I have worked together for years. We've been working closely together within 6 months. There's not too many things that you can ask Omari, hey, that I don't have an answer to, will get you an answer to, or something you'll think about and you'll forget and I'll bring up and you'll be like, yeah, I remember that. Right. The leadership team helps the owner see around corners, right?
Yes.
We're on the ground floor. So it's almost like the coaching staff, right? The owner has the general manager, which would be the COO, but most times in an agency, the CEO and the COO is the same person.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like the owner and the general manager being the same person. And then you have your head coaches, which will be probably most likely your director of operations would be the head coach. And then you have your coordinators, right? So that communication line is super important. How the owner allows the leadership team to do the things that he or she hired them to do, right? Number two is how the leadership team can give the owner visibility on the business to develop so the owner has that trust.
Yep.
Right.
100%.
So that's the leadership team part. And then the other part is the team development, right? And by the team development, I'm talking about from a strategic level and a tactical level. So let me break this down. From a strategic level, when I look at team development, I'm looking at we use a performa as our primary strategic document, right? That's kind of tells us what we can't do and what the results of what we did. So then on the tactical level, we have the org chart. That's the team roster. I am surprised about how many agencies have no idea who is on their roster, what are their strengths, their weaknesses, where do they need to go? And it boggles my mind. So I kind of harp on that when I'm like, how you not know your team? Why do I say that? Well, coming from the military, I think what's different is in the military, everybody has a base of training, which everybody goes through, so everybody knows.
Yeah.
As you get at higher levels in the military, the training becomes more specialized, but also the selection process is harder. So everybody has to pass some type of rigorous deal to be part of the team. But once you're part of the team, everybody knows everybody, even if they're not even looking at it, right? I can remember when I was learning CQB and we were hitting ships. I know that if I was number one in the door and I went left, I didn't have to worry about what was going on behind me. Everybody knew where to be and I knew where they were. So when I bring my rifle around, I know not to, muscle my guy. But that was because we spent so much time learning about each other and knowing each other. And as a team leader, I knew all my guys. I would read their files. I would read their evals. I would know their stats. I would know where they're lacking. Now, in the military, it's kind of hard to fire somebody. So you got to work harder to make something bad good. But in the agency space, you don't. And I don't understand why you think you have to. It is truly black and white. They either can do it or not.
Yeah.
And I was reading, I'm listening to So Good. It's by, what's his name?
Is it the one you just recommended to me?
No. This is a new one. So Good They Can't Ignore You.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that. I haven't read it yet. I'm going to add it.
Oh, it's good. I've been listening to it all day. And one thing that he said was, it is truly, there's a career capital and you either have it or you don't. In the marketing space, we have a few different currencies that we have as career capital, i.e., if you're responsible for generating leads, that's your capital. If you can't do it, you need to find something else, or you need to go get some training and learn how to do it better.
Have you heard me say the new one? It's everybody has a number.
Everybody has a number.
Everybody has a number.
So let's go back to the sports team. Everybody has a number.
Yeah.
Right. I'm bringing you on this team because I know if everything goes to crap, you're going to get me 5 yards. That's all I need to open up the field. I just need that 5 yards. Right. That's my 5-yard guy. So that's the other part is team development and actually leveraging the performer from a strategic perspective. And that's where you find out your budget. That's just there's a book called Simply Profit, great book, and it talks about how salaries, businesses should have salary caps like sports teams, right? Same thing on your org chart, your team roster. It's not something you just write up and post it and everybody sees. No, that's how you determine who goes where, does what, that's where your job descriptions are going to come from. And then the last part of the tactical part for the team development is the playbooks. There's not enough focus on the playbooks, but I understand why. Because intuitively, marketing being creative, you know what to do. Oh, I write this copy. I, plug in these numbers. But we've seen plenty of times where ad campaigns have completely tanked because somebody forgot to press one setting, or the team is overworked and behind on projects, but nobody really knows what anybody else is doing and doesn't know how long it's supposed to take. Or, the more technical personnel isn't really speaking to the leadership. So the leadership doesn't really know what they do when they should, right? I know if I tell you to run the route, you're going to take this many steps, you're going to go out. I should know that, right? That's part of the playbook. So those would be the big things. I could probably do a 2-day thing on this.
Oh, dude, we could talk for hours on this. Well,
but I mean, that's the big mistakes I see.
So, because we don't have that much more time in the interview.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question, and this will be my final question. It's kind of a big question. So, you see all the companies, all the agencies that come through and they need help, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that most of them recognize that the things that they recognize that they are lacking these things that you just talked about. The playbooks, the leadership, the communication, like everything that you just mentioned. I think to some level they recognize that it's lacking, but they haven't been able to fix it yet.
Right.
And that's ultimately why they hire us, right? And then they come to you and you make sure all the shit gets done.
Yeah.
But why do you think that there's so many agencies that are lacking what I would call the fundamentals of business?
Yeah.
Or of running an agency? Why do you think that this is happening so frequently?
Because I'm going to tell you something I told my son, my first son. I said, son, I want you to make homework cool. I want you to make good grades cool. I want you to shame anybody that doesn't do the work, that can't hang out with you. And I think that's what's happening today in business is running the business isn't cool. We got to make running and growing businesses cool. We got to make
100%.
Conversations about performance cool. We got to make conversations about org charts cool, not the latest, and this is the trap of marketing is when you get into marketing, you hear stories about like John Reese doing $1 million in a day. Right. You hear about, if you're a copywriter, like I got started, you hear about the guy doing the, $10 million copy that been running for 8 years. But if you're an ad person, you're looking at the 10,000 leads. If now you're an AI, you're looking at, oh, well, AI can crank out, twice as many as you could. That's what you're hearing. And that's what's sexy. Yeah. But having leadership meetings, looking at numbers, it's not sexy. But what I can tell you is the businesses that do, not only do they grow bigger, but they're more sustainable and they last longer. So to answer your question, I just think, what's sexy is not, the fundamentals aren't sexy, but in any sport, in any career, it's the fundamentals that get you to mastery.
Yeah. 100%. Right? Yeah, I agree 100%. I would say, what is sexy that probably doesn't get talked about as much is having a lot of profit.
Yeah.
Like being able to do cool things, being able to hire amazing people and create new job opportunities, and help to elevate your staff so that they can achieve things that they didn't even know was possible. Yeah. That's really, really cool.
That is wonderful. Cool.
Yeah. And then of course, like as a leader, you being able to take time away.
Yeah. And know that it's gonna be better than when I was there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's when your team starts doing things that you like, where did that come from? Damn, that worked.
This is what you guys are doing, like on the CX team. Like, oh yeah, we built out this automation, and then we're doing all this stuff, and I'm like, God damn! First of all,
Oh,
that's awesome, and I
you
didn't
see what
even
I did
know.
today.
I didn't even know that you guys were doing all that stuff. That's an awesome feeling. From my perspective, I didn't
Yeah.
really have a hand in it. I kind of gave you guys a little bit of direction, but then you were able to take what I would have done and make it 1,000 times better. And
Yeah.
our
Well, I think
customers are going to
that's
benefit from it.
one of the things from the owner's perspective. That's what you want. You want to be able to give kind of your look on it. Oh, this is what I'm thinking about. And then your team goes, oh, that's too easy. Watch this. And you're like, I didn't, what? That's how you know. But that requires, you to focus on the right things, get the right people, nurture them,
Yeah.
raise them up, push them, challenge them, make them happy.
You just
You
made
know?
me think of one of our clients. We can't say the name because it's
Yeah.
private information, but we just had a call about this guy, and he had to do a double take when he saw how profitable the company was in the first quarter. It's our first 90 days working together.
Yep.
And he was like, I couldn't believe these numbers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is what happens, man.
Yeah.
You got the game plan, you got the performa, you got the org chart dialed in. Everybody knows their goals now. We had a concrete plan of what we needed to execute.
And just execute.
That's the other thing. I'm gonna kind of end on this one. Is like the agencies that come to us, they're already pretty good, and like one of the things that we're starting to see now is, the owner's solid. Sometimes the owner's a little bit undisciplined or kind of maybe chases a few too many shiny objects, but they're pretty good. They got in the business pretty far, and they've got, at least one person, operations manager, or maybe it's a, head of customer experience, or maybe it's the spouse. There's somebody else there that's just really, really good and committed and can help solve problems. And then, we come in and we just put some gas on the fire, man. Then
That's it.
you just need a little bit of the push in the right direction, some
That's it.
structure, some guidance.
Just
Then they
rock
just
out.
take off, man. It's so cool to see.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
This has definitely been a different look for me.
Yeah. I mean, whenever you decide to retire or leave this company or whatever, you probably be able to do anything. You'd definitely be able to start a marketing agency. That's for sure. Maybe one day we'll go down that route again. We'll see. But anyways, hey man, I really appreciate you. Obviously, I love having you on the team. It's great to work with my homie again, even though we don't get to talk every day. But
but we're building something. So it's good.
and I'm seeing what you guys are doing, and I'm constantly impressed and very, very proud. So for those that were listening today, I really hope you enjoyed the episode. Hey, and if you're interested in working with us, we don't really promote our company that often on the podcast. But if you liked what Omari had to say and you want to see, hey, maybe if I could get Omari to be my growth mentor, give us a shout. Go to dudeagency.io. You can schedule a free 20-minute call, see if we're a good fit, and then we can just kind of take it from there.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Omari, man. We'll see you soon. And everybody else out there, keep listening. Bye.
Cheers.
Hey, thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much to me if you would subscribe to the podcast and also share it with friends, family, and basically anyone you know who will find the same value in this episode as you do. So, to get the latest from me, then let's connect on social media on the Facebooks at facebook.com/Dude Agency or Instagram at dudeagency.io. Then you can also find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and even TikTok. Yes, I'm that cool. We are on TikTok. Finally, go to our website at dudeagency.io, where you can see all of our other episodes of Operation Agency Freedom, register for live trainings on how to run a highly profitable agency, and you can see exactly how we help marketing agencies fix their operations and scale to 8 figures and beyond. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you next time.